advisor. And Jamie Dimon was offered to be his financial consultant. So I think they realize he knows nothing. He's like Sergeant Schultz. He knows nothing. Although Sergeant Schultz nothing. He knows nothing.
Without desire. He never expects results. Thus he is never disappointed. He is never disappointed. Thus his spirit never grows old. '56. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Close your mouth.
Democrat, who, quite frankly, is the worst candidate possibly to ever run a campaign. Okay, calm. Stiff, inarticulate, lazy. I don't know what else to say about it. So the Democratic Socialist is probably going to win. But I think the rise of Democratic Socialists within the Democratic Party is one of the issues that will limit Democratic Party progress at the national level, and why we're probably going to have sort of a permanent Republican majority, both in the House and in the Senate for the foreseeable future. I'll leave it there. Thanks, Gary.
I was just going to say, I'm looking at Scott's blood pressure monitor. When he heard that permanent Republican majority, it went through the freaking roof. Yes,
blood pressure is so calm and so regular, buddy. I'm as healthy as the horse.
Scott meditates. He's cool.
Dominic, if Trump he doesn't fear confrontation, right? And he was a big doer of things, which I think he is, right? Why doesn't he just pull Thune in and say, you get rid of that damn filibuster?
Thune says he doesn't have the votes. At least that's what he said yesterday.
He said, look, I'll bully every Republican in the Senate with you and tell them they'll never be elected dog catcher because I'll turn the whole MAGA movement against all of them.
All right, Scott, we'll give you 30 Democrats to vote for the end of the filibuster. I'll give you 30 Republicans. Is that a deal?
But I'll tell you though, wouldn't we need, do you need 60 votes to end the filibuster? I didn't think you needed 60 votes to end it. It's just a procedural rule, right?
Just whatever you get.
But I'm just saying, why don't the Republicans use this moment to kill Obamacare and replace it with something better?
You help me. When you come and help me partner with me, Scott, and deliver as many Democratic votes.
Scott, the answer is obvious. It's not have anything to replace it. Yeah, and you know what's interesting? Americans by a 34-point margin view the Affordable Care Act favorably. When you go to Democrats, it's 84% favorable, 6% unfavorable. Independents, it's a 20-point margin. Even among Republicans, it's a 12-point. It goes 34-point favorable or whatever. It's even Republicans like it.
Well, what is?
The CIA. So it's just interesting. Even Republicans are favorable and unfavorable.
Yeah, but
Republicans are on it.
Scott, my point was that nobody cares. That's all.
Well, if it's not a lightning rod issue,
yes.
Why don't I just eat the $350 billion over 10 years? That's nothing. We spend that on programs to make sheep farmers feel good about themselves. That's actually something.
Trump wants to remodel and renovate the American government, and this is a bump in the road along the way of doing that. That's why.
I think that I admire that kind of pluck, and I almost wish, despite the fact that I like Obamacare, I think I would like to see him repeal it just for the sort of drama. But I don't think these people need it. I think these Republicans, it's bullshit. I think if you push them, they wouldn't repeal it because they don't have an idea better. And because a lot of their members, their voters like it. So I think they just say this stuff. I think it's all theater.
60 votes, Scott. So the point is, if you need 60 votes for closure, in order to end the filibuster, then you need 60 votes to pass a continuing resolution. So it's the same 60 votes. So why?
No, that's not right, Scott. I mean, you need 60 votes for closure, not to pass.
Yeah, you could pass a
No,
the filibuster with a simple majority.
You need 60 votes to end the filibuster, right?
And you need 60 votes to end a filibuster. You need 60 votes to end a filibuster.
Correct.
You need a simple majority to amend the Senate rules.
Well, that's a different question.
No, I'm fair. I'm okay with that, Scott. And I will repeat my bipartisan plan, Scott, for you to deliver 24 or 25 votes on the Democrat side. I'll deliver the rest on the Republican side. But I don't think any Democrat will vote to end the filibuster. I'm just kind of shoving the beer on your side of the table, Scott.
You might be right. I don't know. You know,
By the way, the Brookings Institute, for what it's worth, says to formally change the Senate standing rules, such as Rule 22, Rule 22, XXII, Rule 22, to eliminate or alter the filibuster. The rule itself says it will require a vote of 2/3 of the senators present and voting while changing a rule by regular means. That means typically around 67 if all 100 are present. So it's even more, according to this, that you need in order to change the rule, much less end the filibuster. If that's accurate, why bother with the nuclear option when you need 60 votes to pass the continuing resolution? Just work to get those 60 votes. It's the same 60 votes.
The reason is, Gary, that you're inaccurate about the votes needed to impose a nuclear option. It's a simple majority to change.
Well, I'm not inaccurate. The Brookings Institution is.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just the messenger, baby. I'm just reading what's in front of me.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, all right. If all they need is 50 votes to change the rule, 51. Let them change the rule. Easy peasy, right?
That's it.
Then why did Thune say he doesn't have the votes?
I'll deliver as many votes as Scott.
well, because Thune doesn't think he can get 51 Republican votes.
And you can't
He
get.
might not be able to.
You can't get one.
You might not get, Dominic, I think right now, the reason you might, even though Democrats consistently poll as being against it, is I think in the era of Trump, this is the only weapon they see themselves as having, right? And so I think it's and look, I think Thune here represents the conservative mindset better than Trump does, right? Trump's not a conservative. I think the filibuster is a fundamentally conservative rule, right? It's one that says big change, you gotta be wary of big changes, and any change that's big should require a supermajority, should require broad coalitions. So it's not a sort of, progressives don't think like that, right? And so I think Thune is doing actually justice to the small c conservative spirit here in a way that Trump is not.
Well, listen, I'm going to agree with you, Scott, on that. I think the moderate position on both sides of the aisle is to keep the filibuster. I was just pulling your leg on the vote, but we have an iconoclast as a president. He is not, as I said earlier, a typical, yellow streak going down his back politician, and that's the distinction. So you got to deal with it, and I don't think that most people want to deal with the personality type that he represents or that he is. And, we don't elect people like that, generally speaking.
So I can say on the other side, I can use my adjective that the members of Congress are scared to death of coming up against the president. Can I use scared for that?
As much as
Thank you. I wanted to use it so badly.
What was it, Gary? Could you repeat it?
Yeah, I said, can I use that? Can I use the terminology that I used for the president with regard to the midterms, then to the members of Congress who are, and I'm going to use the same term because I want to use it so badly and you took it away from me, that the members of Congress are scared to death to stand up to the president.
Well,
Can I say that?
All members of Congress are naturally scared, okay? That's a 100% truism. So it's not a party-based personality trait.
See, I know how to work my editors, Dominic. I know how to work my editors to get in when I want to get into the story. Thank you, Dominic. Brett followed by Steve. Brett.
Okay, so just to clarify, it takes 50 plus the vice president to overrule the parliamentarian in the Senate. So if you want to do that, which the Republicans actually did on nominations not too long ago, that's when you require 50 plus 1 votes. If you want to actually kind of formally change the Senate rules, it is a 67 number, which rarely.
Oh, so I wasn't wrong.
No, well, you're kind of wrong because.
Well, I wasn't wrong because I read verbatim what was in front of me, so I wasn't wrong.
to do this quote unquote nuclear option, which is essentially overruling the parliamentarian and changing Senate precedent, that is the 50 plus the vice president, which gets rid of filibuster.
The filibuster or a filibuster?
The filibuster. If you overrule the parliamentarian, you set Senate precedent, and once you set Senate precedent, you have new Senate rules.
So Scott was right again? Yes,
Scott is correct.
For God's sakes. I'm tired of this. He's always right. It's disgusting. Be wrong once in a while, Scott. Show that you're human.
I mean, you haven't asked how many times I've been divorced, Gary.
Well, I was talking to those women, and we'll talk about that later. Go ahead, Brent.
So, for a country that doesn't care about any of this, it is odd that Trump's approval ratings are at its lowest point of a second term. I always look at Nate Silver's average. That average is as low as it's ever been. I mean, some of this recent polling, CNN poll had him at 37% approval, 63% disapproval. Economists had him at 39% approval, 57% disapproval. These are the polling. This is about what he was polling. When he left office after January 6th, and he was polling higher than this when he got creamed in the midterms last time. So let's don't forget that the midterms during the last Trump administration, he was pretty unpopular. Not as unpopular as he is right now, but he was pretty unpopular, and the Republican Party got creamed. So
are you suggesting, Brett, that in large measure the midterms will be a referendum on the president?
And they're always a referendum on the president, so I'm not suggesting that. That's just historical norms. What I'd suggest is politically, this shutdown is working relatively well for Democrats. I mean, there's no polling that shows that they're doing bad politically. You had NBC polling showed that their generic ballot poll, they're up 8 points, which is a huge jump. I suspect these kind of off-year elections will go pretty well for the Democrats. If you look at the poly markets right now, you see the people who are really paying attention to early returns and voter turnout. Republican chances are dropping remarkably quick, and Democratic probabilities of winning are going up. So, politically, I think this is going relatively well. But it still doesn't go well if you're a SNAP beneficiary, if you're a person that is dependent on the ACA or need the ACA for healthcare. Does it go well for them? And the Democratic Party has always had a threat of being the party of responsibility. So they are starting, at least the moderate members of the Democratic Party are starting to come to the table. And the developing deal, at least for Punch Bowl and other kind of people who cover Congress, is basically a minibus bill that would fund ag, defense, and the ledge branch. So their staffers get paid for the whole year and then do a CR until December 19th, which you're off one of the possible another cliff until the 19th. But that's kind of what's being developed. That said, I don't think that is a done deal until the man in the White House does so, and I kind of think he will blow it up and kind of go to do the filibuster, which is something
Grab a seat right there.
I think would be good for the country. I think the
I'd
filibuster
like to be on the talk show.
Oh,
Sit down.
no.
Just sit down like that, and I'm gonna introduce you, and then I'm gonna tell them, tell them what you think about Trump.
No, I can't
Now,
right now. I'm
Democrats.
too hungry.
Democrats.
We're about to go.
I don't have the energy.
You got it. You got this.
I
Let me get you a cashew. You stay right there.
No, I can't do it.
So I personally think it'd be good.
I really can't do it.
To Dominic's point, of course,
Too
Democrats.
Stay right there. You sit back. I know you're weak. You can't get up. You can't even get up.
I'm too weak to get on Johnny.
It's okay. Eat that, and the thoughts are gonna come with the
No, I
cashew.
haven't eaten since breakfast.
It's okay. Eat up.
Wow.
All of them at once? You gotta take one at a
I
time.
can't think.
Oh no.
I'm not glad.
Oh no.
It's interesting, as you were talking, I was thinking about this, and I'm going to get some pushback, and that's fine. But it seems to me the Republicans, they really bristle at the idea of socialism, which many of them cannot distinguish from communism. And so it's a little bit of a red baiting that's going on here. So Republicans are opposed to socialism until you try to take away their Social Security, their Medicare, their Medicaid, their SNAP benefits, and we'll add our disdain for socialism and lay on top of that our hatred for Obama, but please don't take away our Obamacare. So, I think that's the reality. I don't know. Am I right or wrong about that?
I mean, the Times had a really good article, and my heart goes out to them, but it was essentially in West Virginia kind of asking people coming up to food pantries about what SNAP meant to them. And it's terrible. It was talking about the amount of shortage that their family is. And if you look at SNAP benefits, it primarily affects people in red states. Like the density of those who receive SNAP benefits are much more dense in red states than blue states.
And you would think that if the president was playing this smart and he was concerned about the midterm elections, he would not have attempted to withhold the release of the reserves to keep at least some of those SNAP benefits going, because the optics of that are very, very bad, I think, in terms of people who might otherwise vote red, but who need those SNAP benefits literally to survive.
I mean, those voters are voting red for cultural reasons. They're voting red because Democrats are more concerned about transgender rights than they are for them. So that brings me
bathrooms, all that kind of stuff. And well, this is where the Democrats have really shot themselves in the foot. And then you run a candidate. Everybody talks about what a horrible candidate Harris was. Well, what about our vice presidential candidate, who signed the bill to put tampon dispensers in boys' bathrooms and it's true. When I heard it argued, I said no, but I looked it up and it's true.
But my point is those issues are secondary to feeding your family. And my point is sometimes you have to let policies go in effect you disagree with, so the public can actually understand the material difference between the two parties. The problem with filibuster is nothing ever changes because you need a supermajority in the Senate, and essentially nobody ever has that supermajority. By getting rid of the filibuster, you actually give information to the voters, and real information to the voters about how these two parties affect them materially, and that I think would be better long term for the American politics. Like, let Republicans have their policies and let the voter feel their policy and see if they like it, and the opposite way around. And let's figure out, what policies are better. And I would argue if we that is the fastest way to kind of move past this kind of cultural affiliation voting that I think is unhealthy for American democracy.
Brent, have you ever acknowledged publicly, and here's your opportunity to do so, failings of your party? Your response to what I just said was, but, and then you went on. But you won't even acknowledge that the Democrats are idiots for pushing these kinds of programs that are unbeneficial to their opportunity to hold national office. Do you acknowledge that or not?
I just acknowledged that the Democrats.
I don't think you did. Well, go ahead and clarify for me.
I just acknowledged that the Democratic Party has been too consumed with cultural issues and not enough with basic economic issues.
There you go. I hope somebody recorded that. Thank you, Brent. Steve, followed by Anthony.
Hey, Gary. How's it going?
Good. I just want to let you know, since Brent mentioned the long lines apparently at the food pantries in your state, there are long lines at the food pantry in my state as well. And you know what? I wonder, that should have been where some of these anecdotal interviews should have occurred today. I just thought about that. I think I haven't heard any that maybe somebody had done them, but I heard a lot of anecdotal, they all go out and interview people at the polls. It's all anecdotal. It doesn't mean anything. But I think it would have been really instructive to hear how people are voting in the gubernatorial election who are standing in line at my neighborhood Salvation Army food pantry that's crying for donations right now because they cannot stand up to the demand that they are getting. I would really like to hear what those people have to say about the gubernatorial race and whether the fact that they are standing in line at a food pantry.
If you do want to order from there, I
it
think
may not affect the outcome of the election, but I wonder if it affects their vote. I think that would be very instructive. Damn it, I wish I had thought about that earlier, because on my way home from work, I would have made that stop. Oh, what an idiot, I blew it. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, but why would that be relevant? You're talking a state versus federal issue.
Because
what the federal does is what a governor can do.
Nah, because because in the minds of the voters, in fact, especially right now in the New Jersey race, this is a Trump versus the Democrat race. This Citarelli, I don't want to mispronounce his name. I think it's Citarelli. I've mispronounced it several times. I sometimes spell people's names wrong, and I get slapped for it. I guess if I mispronounce his name, I'll get slapped for that too. I think it's Citarelli. Citarelli is hanging his wagon, just like Mandami is hanging his wagon as the anti-Trump candidate. Citarelli is running as the pro-Trump candidate. So yeah, I think it would be very instructive.
Yeah, I just think they're apples and oranges. I don't know if a governor in the United States, his opinion can change what transpires in the Senate. But one of the things that Brent was talking about there about the cultural, that's partially true. Just from clarification, from deep within the bowels of the great netherworld that is West Virginia, But, you know, one dimension that a lot of people, not to get off topic too much, that forget about these people. This is working class state, and the decimation of our industry because of energy policies in the last 20 years, the corporate policies of international trade. Yeah, that kind of contributes to the people standing in the food line. If you was making $100,000 a year and now you're working at a convenience store, you might have a little bit difference there. That's beyond culture. But I digress. Let me get back to the point. You know, I guess we've come to the position that it's acceptable to form legislation through hostage taking now. That's what I hear. Well, you just got to give it to them. Yeah, we're going to create legislation based on hostage taking. And I don't think that's a good way. I don't think that's a thing that's should be encouraged within our political system to hold hostage in order to form legislation. So we have on the table right now a clean CR that maintains the levels that was always there, that was there during the Biden administration. Nothing's changed, but we're going to create legislation through hostage taking. Congratulations! What a wonderful government we have here now. But more to the point of the question that's being asked here, and I think this short term can have some political implications. I think long term, for the significance of the midterms, it may be brought up, but I think there's going to be so much water under the bridge by that time that I don't think a lot of people's going to remember or really going to be influenced that hard by what we see occurring now. But I think the longer implication here is, if successful, that we're going to have a tactic now, not by discussion, not by going in and trying to hammer out, here's my idea, here's your idea. I got something I want done. Let's just wait till we need to fund the government. Then we'll hold the government hostage until you capitulate. So that doesn't sound like something I think in the long term can be beneficial for the House or the Senate. I think it sets bad precedent, and I'll leave it there.
So I suspect you are suggesting that it's advantage Republicans in the midterms with regard to the shutdown because the Democrats, in your opinion, are holding the country hostage by demanding that the Obamacare be negotiated first before they approve a continuing resolution.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what else can it be? We're not going to continue, even though we have something that has been exactly at the levels that's been going on. And this is something Democrats and Republicans do all the time because they obfuscate on tackling the hard issues of being in government. They don't want to face the realities of what they have to deal with. But now we've ratcheted it up. And we're saying we're going to create legislation through hostage taking. You're not going to get to fund anything unless you capitulate to our demands. And I think that sets a very bad precedent for this country.
Hey, Steve. So your response to my comment about interviewing people at the food bank lines, now your response makes me really wish I had asked, because I might have gotten your answer. Well, we don't care about what's going, any of that. We don't care about the governor's race. All we care about is, getting our SNAP benefits back. And that has nothing to do with the governor's race. I might have gotten that response. I might have gotten a different response. So now I'm really curious about what response I would have gotten. We can speculate, but I should have gone out there and asked the question myself. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, Steve said this is a new precedent. I think the longest shutdown in history was caused by Trump and the Republicans, they were the wall funding. I mean, they shut down the government. It was this one might surpass that one, but that was the longest. And it's not. I don't think it's. I don't love it, but I'm just saying I don't think it's unprecedented. The longest one was Trump.
Yeah, but the point is holding hostage, and would you not argue that they were holding the government hostage over the wall issue, and they suffered politically as a result of that. So maybe the same is true here. Maybe Steve's got a point that the Democrats are holding the nation hostage over the Obamacare issue, and so they will suffer the same fate as the Republicans.
I think the reason they might not, and they might, but let's just say the Obamacare is a lot more popular than the wall, and it affects. I mean, the numbers are wild about how much people's without the subsidies, how much people's premiums are going to go. And 90% of the people, 90% of the people that use Obamacare make under $60,000 a year. These are Trump's. This is group Trump won. So I mean, this is if I were Trump, I'd be trying to get health care for my voters. But
that's a good point, Scott. But how else would, even though you may characterize it as two different issues, the principle is the same, isn't it? You're not going through normal legislative action.
I'm with you, Steve. But I don't understand why Trump doesn't just end the shutdown and say, look, I ended it by giving health care to my voters. And not only did
I ended 9 wars. The 9th war was
and I gave health care.
Yeah. And we only have one party involved here that's responsible for what's going on. I got it. Thank you.
Well, I mean, one party is saying, hey, look, help us out by giving your voters health care. And it's only 25. It's a fraction of what it's not. This is not a lot of money in the context of the budget, right? It's $25 billion this year, $350 billion over 10 years. This is.
But your Democratic senator says otherwise. Your Democratic senator says pass the continuing resolution and then fight for
We go to
Obamacare.
Little Eyes instead?
Could we?
Which one? The Lincoln one?
No,
Yes, it should.
whatever's closest.
And you
No
know,
restaurant
we-
ones.
we
Lincoln was
tossed
the only
around
one that I know that's a restaurant. The other one's just
educated
carry out.
like it's nothing. But
Oh.
we're 38 trillion.
We can go to Lincolnwood if you want.
In the red.
It's 522.
And it's something.
Would you rather give it to these Americans?
You sure you don't want to be on the show?
No.
Why not?
No,
You're
it's
useless
not
then.
to a larger point. It's
Wow,
not
Pete,
that
you
it's
think
a
pizza's gonna
stupid
give you
thing.
strength?
I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the military. I'm talking about foreign aid, everything. If we don't address these 100 billion here and 100 billion there, if we don't start addressing the whole government in a way to make it more efficient and to bring it into some kind of financial sanity, we eventually are going to suffer the consequences, and it will be ugly, and then no one will have any health care.
Of course, it's all about your individual pet project. So if you're concerned about the drug trade, and I know you are, Steve, and you have very personal reasons for being concerned about that, maybe you're okay with spending an equal amount of money to fight the drugs from coming in here from Venezuela and Mexico, right? So
I would much rather spend money eradicating the drug trade that's killing millions of Americans than send foreign aid every time they can carry on the face of the planet.
right.
All right, I'll see you
Would
downstairs.
you rather do that than pay for the health care of poor people?
Well, I think poor people need health care, but I think care, even though it fills the bill in the generic fashion, I think there's associated with it. I think it should be renegotiated. I think it could be done more efficiently, but that's a long-term process that people have to look at. In the meantime, just like SNAP benefits, yeah, people need health care. Get in there. If you want to fund it for a year or two and work out a better plan, go for it. But we have to address this.
Where has been? I hear you, and look, I think there could be a lot better plans than Obamacare. I'd be forgetting the insurance companies out of the game for whatever. But why haven't the Republicans, and they've had since 2000, this was 13 years, Why has there not been? Trump has not presented a plan. Where's the plan? Why is there no plan?
Well, I can tell you why, Scott. Because they're cowards to address it. They know that it's something that is going to cost a lot of money. They know it's going to be viewed as big government, and they're cowards to address it. Well, it needs to be addressed. People need to be able, if they're sick, to be able to go to the doctor and see a doctor. This is something that needs to be done. But they're cowards for not going in and addressing it, so they'll rail about it. It's like they said they're going to get rid of it as soon as they got a majority. What they do? Nothing. Because they are cowards. Just like the majority of the House and the Senate, these are tough issues, and I've sat in on tough issues. Most people don't like to have 100 people barking at them because you're telling them the truth. I've had that. I'll stand there and tell you the truth. I don't care. Let the flag fly. But most people don't have the guts for it, Scott, and that's what we're looking at, and that's why we're in the position we're in. We got Democrats, we got Republicans that don't have the guts because of their proclivity for this little cocoon in Washington, D.C. to stay and be a part of. That they don't have the guts to do the will and be right with the American people.
But there's another aspect to this, maybe, Steve, if I may interject, and that's Donald Trump. If Donald Trump told the Republicans in Congress, pass a health care bill, come up with a plan, and work with the Democrats, and come up with something that improves it for all Americans, they would do it. But he doesn't. I think that's
probably true. But the problem I described transcends Trump. It's cultural. Within the House, within the Senate, within the political bowels of Washington, D.C. People want to be a part of it. They'll schmooze, they'll take money, whatever it takes. And they will not look after the betterment of the American people. And they'll say whatever they need to retain power. This is beyond.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. But we are in a unique time in your life and mine where we have a president who has such control over the Congress, such that even when he is not even in office, when a bipartisan bill, I know Marshall doesn't like the bill, but when a bipartisan bill is presented to deal with the border, he says, whoa, no. The head count was already taken. They had the votes, and he said, stop. Do not vote for this, Republicans, because that'll make it look like Joe Biden did something to stop the problem at the border. Vote against it so he looks worse, and then when I come in, I'll take care of it. And they said, okay, Mr. President. So he's got this kind of control over the House in particular, a little less control over the Senate, that if he really wanted to resolve this problem, getting back to Scott's argument, we could have had this resolved during his first term. It's now been 3 terms or 2.5 terms, 2 terms and a quarter, you know? Oh my God, your microphone's open. We don't hear you, Steve.
Yeah, I also want to say, when Steve's got his mic issues, the history of Obamacare, this is a Republican plan. Right? I mean, when Hillary came out with her sweeping Hillary Care idea, the Heritage Foundation basically came out with
Most of this is going to fall on the Congress and the senators, and I don't think they have the political guts. And that's the pessimism I hold right now, because we're at such an inflection point that political guts is necessary. And I don't think our politicians have it, Republican or Democrat. And I think we're in a lot of trouble because of it.
See, I think that the irony here is Obamacare is a Republican plan, right? I mean, the Heritage Foundation came out with the scaling framework of it in response to Hillary Care, when she wanted a big government system, right, that was big, hairy, audacious. And the Heritage Foundation said, what about a system like this? Romney built on that, right? Romney is a conservative guy, wanted a market-based approach, as opposed to a sort of European style, England sort of NHS or something. And it was all the problem in Massachusetts. So basically, Obama annexed a center-right idea. I mean, the only way you could go more right-wing than this is just say, get the government out of healthcare, right? Go a libertarian direction. But everything else, every other sort of healthcare reform would be to the left of this, right? Would be moving left. So I don't know why the Republicans aren't defending Obamacare for fear that people are going to want something less expensive with more coverage and embrace socialized medicine.
I think you just answered your own question, though, Scott.
Maybe the Republicans want socialized medicine. I don't know.
Those who need it do. Those who don't. We vote on our own self-interest. By the way, every member of Congress has socialized medical care for life. So they can rail against it all they want. It's not good enough for you, Scott, but it's good enough for them.
And my point is that branded Obamacare, that unto itself is a nice political asset.
It was the Republicans who called it, in a disparaging manner, Obamacare. And one day, Barack Obama said, oh, they're calling it Obamacare. I kind of like that. And then the script flipped over the branding. So, and I thought that was brilliant. I remember when he did it, and I thought at the time, right on. Thank you, Steve. Anthony, followed by John. Anthony.
Hello, everyone in the room and on the stage. Can you hear me?
Loudly and clearly.
Awesome, good. So my political viewpoint is this. I'm going to use a short story. On December 25th last year, I had a stroke and I had a heart attack, one after another, right? So now, when my doctor called today, I told her why I missed my appointment. Because President Trump I live in the suburbs of Outrage. I'm so secure. So get this. A lot of my friends who work for the government is suffering tremendously. When she called, when my best friend called me just yesterday, she was like, bro, you used to be on top of us, you used to the government, but now you're not, you don't work for them anymore. Can you let me $20? I said to her, I do not have it. If I had it, I would. And I'm getting to us that the shutdown is killing a lot of people who needs to get to their doctor because he has cut billions of dollars for us to get to and from our doctors who live outside or in these professional all over the country. Now,
Are you talking about transportation?
Yes.
Okay.
Transportation.
Gotcha.
So I think it's a bigger fish. I think it's a bigger fish that people are looking at, okay? The middle class is, I would say, at least 75% of government. And when you look at going to the pantry lines, like somebody said on the stage, they are very, very long. And you're looking at middle class people. They are suffering tremendously. And when you try to go and try to get like a part-time job or a full-time job, guess what? There are none. Our economy is suffering. Our economy was suffering before the shutdown because I was trying to become a substitute teacher because I have a degree. I couldn't get one. So my point is, somebody made a comment. I think it was Steve who made a comment that the Democrats is holding the SNAP benefit and the ACA hostage. No, they're not. They are, but they're not. The reason why I say because who controls what? The president controls Congress. My question is, why hasn't Congress came up with a plan for Obamacare? Why haven't the Republicans came up with a backup plan for SNAP benefits? And then third, why isn't the Republicans have not started looking at different economic ways of creating jobs? When the July report came out that there was less jobs, I began to search and search and search. Now I'm about to name my blank. there were very little jobs. And because I was overqualified, I could not get in. My point is this. I'm considered middle class, although I'm on Social Security. I get pretty much a sum of money. But it's barely enough to pay my bills. My refrigerator is, guess what? Empty. I'm hurting, but I'm not on SNAP. So I have to pay everything cash. I can't get Medicaid because of what I get from Social Security. So there's a lot of people like that that's suffering on Social Security. So my point is, and I'm like Steve, when our Republican Party going to get some balls and really start doing stuff? Period. Who's going to fix this? The Democrats. Why? Because they have the ACA and they have the SNAP, and there's nothing to replace them that's going to be effective for all Americans and not just Congress. So when they leave Congress, they are going wealthy. Last Speaker of the House, he left Congress with, I think, $19.9 million. But when he came in, he was making a little over $175,000. And that alarmed me. It really alarmed me. So my question is this. When is the Republicans going to start doing the motherfucking job and stop blaming them Democrats for every goddamn thing? I'm not Democrat nor Republican. I'm independent. I'm not playing.
So Anthony, don't go anywhere. Guys, don't kick him off the stage yet. Unbelievably, a candidate for Congress of the United States of America from suburban Chicago is the next caller. He is a Republican. So let's take Anthony's issue and put it to John, our next caller. John, would you like to be introduced to Anthony so that maybe when he has a doctor's appointment, you could volunteer as a Republican to drive him to his doctor appointments?
Well, the beautiful thing about Clubhouse is I can help Anthony coordinate here without personally getting involved in Anthony's life. But Gary, I love your socialistic way of thinking.
Well, that's not socialistic. That's neighbor helping neighbor. What do you mean not personally getting involved? If Anthony was my neighbor, if he said he was here in New Jersey, I would say, Anthony, no worries. I will get you to the hospital. And I'm not a politician, and I'm not a Republican. Here's your chance to prove that Republicans are not mean-spirited as Anthony believes them to be.
Gary, Anthony is an independent. And first of all, Anthony, regardless of Republican or Democrat, sorry to hear about your difficulties, your financial problems, and your friends' financial problems. I would say that the reason in 2025 why we have so many financial problems is because of the Federal Reserve, the big banks, big government, big Medicare, Medicaid, big medical industrial complex.
I'm going to suggest, and Anthony is clearly, in spite of his stroke, able to speak for himself. But I'm going to suggest that nonsense that just came out of your mouth does not resonate with the people who actually are in need. Anthony, am I correct about that?
Correct. Everything you just said, sir, excuse my French, was garbage. You did not give me a solution.
I'm trying to describe the situation to you accurately to understand what a possible solution looks like. It's debt resolution, debt negotiation. We have $38 trillion in debt. The rest of the world combined has less than $38 trillion in debt. We're bankrupt. We're broke. Admit it. The government is broke. Anthony is broke. Government is broke.
It does nothing to help a gentleman like Anthony.
I hear you, Gary.
Your neighbor.
Listen, Anthony.
If you want to get personally involved, who do you know that can?
Anthony,
Anthony, you come on the Clubhouse, and I know people, and you've mentioned them yourself, and God bless them. They've helped you out. They've contributed to your campaign. How about taking some of that money and pay for Uber for Anthony?
Well, we just paid $100 to get our final petitions in to the Illinois Election Commission, and we are on the ballot. So I want to thank Howard, who gave us money, and others, and Scott's support. Thank you, Scott.
Did you spend all that money?
No, we just raised more money today.
Constituent services for Anthony here.
All right, Anthony. Anthony, put your number in the chat. Oh, look, you censor the chat. There's no chat. Anthony, hit me up in the back
There's a
channel.
chat up above and you guys can message one another.
Oh, on Meta, Zuckerberg, Facebook. Thanks, Gary. All right, well, Gary, I'll match you dollar for dollar. How much you gonna kick up?
I'll match you.
All right, I'll give $100 to Anthony. Gary, are you good for the 100?
Of course I am.
Okay, Anthony, message Gary in the back channel. Do you have Cash App? Do you have Zillow? I mean, do you have PayPal, Anthony?
Are you questioning if I commit myself to something?
All right, Anthony, Gary just raised you $200. Anthony, Gary just raised you $200. I want to thank Gary for doing the right thing for Anthony.
No. I want to thank you as a possible constituent, for sure, a neighbor, for helping a brother out.
Amazing. Solutions now, results focused, oriented individuals. Anthony, thanks for coming to this incredible critical thinking forum. Tomorrow you might be able to get $500. Who knows?
Who knows, right? Anthony, do you know how to message me?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, give me a little message and we'll, but John, don't you renege.
I'm not gonna renege, Gary, but I want to tell you that I gotta tell you, all you speakers on here sound like you work for big banks. You don't care about debt. You don't care about borrowing, spending, or stopping spending. You just want the money now, and there's no more money. $38 trillion in debt, ladies and gentlemen. $105 trillion in unfunded debt liabilities.
I will give you a chance to explain how that argument answers a question that if and when the government shutdown ends, which party wins or loses? Explain it.
Well, there's no winners. We are all the losers. We, the people, are the ones who gave up our sovereignty to the banks, to all the borrowing, spending, and taxes. $138 trillion total. The whole world has less debt than we do. We have spent everything we had in 25 years since 9/11. We got scammed. We got ripped off. International businesses and U.S. national businesses. I don't know what the real solution is for the financial crisis, which is here now. And the fact that the government is shut down is indicative of a coming financial crisis. You don't know what a depression is like, but it's coming. We have created so much debt. It's uneffing believable. In just 25 years, we've gone from 1 to 2 trillion in debt, multiplied to 38.2 trillion. It's unbearable. It's unbelievable. Where did all this money go? The U.S. money supply is at 22 trillion. Where's all the dollars? Where's all that money? So Anthony doesn't have, and he's on a call now, but I would like more money as well as you. I'm sure everyone here wants abundance in their life. I'm not anti-abundance. I'm anti-borrowing and spending on programs and projects that we don't need as Americans, for we the people. Let's focus internally within our perimeter and focus all of our major cities, clean it all up, and let's, start negotiating this debt down. 10 trillion is owned by foreign governments. Well, we can start negotiating there. We can play more hardball. Trump is this great negotiator. Well, what's he negotiating for your personal debt, for your public debt? I'm running for Congress. I need your support. I need your dollars. If you believe in fiscal conservatism or libertarian type thinking with regards to budgets and borrowing and spending, programs and projects, enough is enough. And, my slogan is vote for John Kitover. It's better than nothing.
Well, that's a pretty endearing. It's sort of like the guy with the sign begging for money for marijuana. Thank you, John. Victoria fell out and came back. Victoria.
Thank you, Gary. And yeah, that was a bunch of baloney, but I think we're used to those types of meat packing.
Well, I mean, he's waiting for office, and that's his.
Yeah.
That's his platform. I don't know. You may agree with what he says, and you might not. I don't know.
The US
There might have been a little meatloaf in there. There might have been a little meatloaf in there, Victoria. Come.
The U.S. debt is over $37 trillion, and I do agree. Like we have to actually look at these things and examine it, but I don't think giving tax breaks to the ultra wealthy helped at all. In fact, it actually contributed to that debt quite a bit. If and when the government shutdown ends, who wins and loses? Well, the American people are not winning, and that's the important aspect.
Tao Te Ching can be translated as
it
the
is
book of the imminence of the way,
it is
or the
my
book of the
belief
way and of how it manifests itself in the world, or simply the book of the way. Since it is already well known by its Chinese title, I have let that stand. About Lao Tzu, its author, there's practically nothing to be said. He may have been an older contemporary of Confucius, 551 to 479 BCE, and may have held the position of archive keeper in one of the petty kingdoms of the time. But all the information that has come down to us is highly suspect. The meaning of his name is uncertain. The most likely interpretations, the old master